Hello, everybody. Welcome to Subconscious Sundays. I am host number one, or am I number two, Tim? You're host
Oh
number
no,
one, and I'm number two.
you're. I think you're host number one. I'm okay with being. We can. We'll switch here and there. I'm sure.
I'm host A, and you're host B,
Okay.
or you're host A, and I'm host. Anyway, welcome to Subconscious Sundays. I'm April Kling, Reverend April Kling, if you will. And this is, as always, my number one, the best of the besties, Timothy Freeman. And we're here to share a word of prayer. That is today's episode topic. And I have so much to share with you about prayer. I have a lot of story time. It's not really going to be so much of like, I was just saying this to Tim before we got live. I don't have so much of like a lecture or like a sermon of any sort today. It's mostly just telling you kind of why we're doing this and sharing the responses that we received, and also sharing responses that I've received in the past on this topic, because it is so incendiary. Last week we did, Am I the Asshole? Or Are You the Asshole? I think it was the name of the, and I mean, that was pretty spicy, but I never would have thought that prayer would be just as spicy
I was
topic.
just about to say, like, how can prayer be spicy? But it is.
It gets people's heckles up. It just does. And that's why we're doing the episode. Honestly, this episode came about, and I don't want to spoil what I'm going to say after we do our intention setting, but this episode topic, when we were listing it all out, came about as a result of some spicy, sticky things that happened almost exactly a year ago, a little tiny bit over a year ago, when I ran a prayer vigil, and the very weird response I got to holding a prayer vigil. So I will go into that in a moment. But before I do, let's set the intention for today. Just a reminder that Subconscious Sundays is always going to be a fun and entertaining, or at least intentionally fun and entertaining and laid back way to discuss potentially serious and heavy topics.
Yes, and we remain open and inviting here, welcoming you to, if you have any questions or anything to share, respectfully, please bring it to the conversation.
Right. This is our weekly ritual for Tim and myself, and for anybody who wants to come along for the fun, to gather in our shared community in virtual sacred space to share our knowledge as subject experts while hearing your response, because you're the subject experts of your own lives and your own ways of dealing with the topics.
Yeah, and right in line with that, we have some core values. One is respectful of everybody's individual journey. Everybody's at a different place. We're all in the same boat, though, as humans. We're rooted in compassion for self and others.
Yep.
We are here to promote growth and expansion and to create a supportive community. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here very much. We very much appreciate you being here. And I see that the numbers are starting to rack up on our viewer list. That's always good to see. So this week, prayer. Okay, so this week's question on the Facebooks, and also on, well, no, I didn't co-post it anywhere else. I got so much response from it on Facebook, I think I decided, no, I'm not going to spread it out to Instagram or Threads this time. I didn't need to. In fact, most of what I'm going to be talking about today is just the responses to this question. What does prayer mean to you? Does your meaning differ from what you think prayer means to other people? Okay, so the reason we're doing this topic, something that happened to me a year ago when I ran a prayer vigil. It was around election day in the United States last year. It was on election day. I did like a whole day of prayer. I believe it was like 16 hours of prayer. I had a buddy do that with me, so it wasn't just me for those 16 hours. But I think for me, I sat in prayer for a 9 hour straight. I think I might have taken like a 15-minute break. That's neither here nor there. But the thing was that I invited just about everybody I knew to this prayer vigil. I didn't invite people who I thought like might find it just ridiculous or silly or whatever, but the invite was open. It was really open to literally anybody and everybody. And I broadcast it public audience all the way. Like anybody who wanted to come to this could come to this. It was even listed in the Eventbrite, like event listing. So it was open to literally anybody. And I did have total strangers come to it. It was really great. But mostly it was my own acquaintances and family members and things like that. Now, what was really odd about this is that when I started promoting the event, I had a lot of response. People really, really responded well to the event being open to them, right? And a lot of people said they were coming, but what wasn't happening was I wasn't getting any ticket purchases, right? And it wasn't like I was charging a giant amount of money. I really just trying to cover costs, and I was like, just make it donation based. Like, just kick me whatever you want. Like, it literally fill in the blank, however much you think it's worth. Just pay what you can. And people could pay $1, euro, whatever they had. And really, if people reached out to me and they were just like, I'm just broke and I don't have any money in my checking account to kick it over to you, I would just let the people in. It was just not that big a deal to me at all to have it be like a money maker, right? It did not make, I think it made me like $9. I'm serious. Like, it was not a lot of money. So, what I thought was odd is that all these people RSVP'd, or all these people said they were coming, but nobody RSVP'd. And it was like a day before, and I put out a thing like saying, hey, everybody, I know a lot of people wanted to come to this, but I don't have any ticket sales. Could y'all let me know if you're having any like issues with closing? A lot of people had gotten back to me that Eventbrite wasn't working well for them. Like, it was freezing and like giving them errors and things like that. I was kind of expecting that sort of feedback, or like you couldn't find the link, or, whatever. But what I got was a bunch of like criticism, basically, for even doing it. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm literally a pastor. Like, I'm an interfaith pastor. Like, prayer is kind of my bread and butter. Like, inviting people into prayer is like what I do, and yeah. So I also had a lot of encouragement. I want to also just make sure that this is not one of those like, poor me, I'm a victim moments, like, at all. Like, I had a lot of people behind the scenes being like super supportive, which is why I said something about the ticket sales, because I was like, behind the scenes, I'm hearing like, thank you for doing this. And then I'm not, what's happening? Is there an error? And one person said, and this is somebody I deeply respect, and it's actually somebody who, I'm not going to name names, but it's somebody who watches the show and somebody who interacts with us, not Bear. Somebody who watches the show and interacts with our questions on a regular basis, who basically just said, like, out and out, like, you're charging people to pray. It's pay to pray. And I was like, I'm not charging people to pray. I'm charging people to attend an event where we will be praying. And there's a difference, right? But I found it so icky, right? And I want to thank somebody on the show today who is probably watching or will probably watch, maybe, maybe not, but just in case she does, even if she doesn't, I want to thank Cheyenne, because I shared that's the one that sticks out for me. It wasn't the only criticism I received for hosting that event, right? All of it was a much on the same level or less sticky to me than that. But that was the one that really like, how could you think of me like that, And I posted the responses on social media of what people had said, like, and I asked for feedback on that even. Like, do people agree with this? Like, I really want to know, like, is this coming across like I'm trying to like extort people, like some sort of intercession kind of thing, which honestly, isn't that what religions do? I mean, sorry, I don't mean like, does this look like I'm trying to make prayer into some kind of money-making scheme? Like, is that
Well,
what's
I'm
going on
picturing
here?
the tithing dish, right? Like, right? I don't know.
I
I get it
know,
on
right?
both.
It was weird. I'm still not quite over it, right? So I want to thank Cheyenne, because Cheyenne saw this feedback and like swooped into the DMs. And Cheyenne, she is also known as Mugga Rose. She's in upstate New York. She used to live in Seattle and New Orleans. I think a lot of people who watch know who she is. She's like one of my besties, right? And we went to Beltane together in Edinburgh. And she swooped into my DMs and she was like, prayer is just freaking weird for people, April. Like, people have their own like weird associations of what prayer is and like who it belongs to, and like a lot of religious trauma is involved here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forget that sometimes. And I really shouldn't forget that sometimes. But Cheyenne swooped in with that wisdom right when I needed it. And I was like, thank you, right? Like, just, I needed to hear that. I needed the reminder that prayer is weird for people. And it was at that moment where I was like, Tim, put it on the list. We already had our stuff set up for like season 2 or whatever season we were at that point. And I was like, we got to do prayer at some point. So here we are a year later, and it's still just as juicy and sticky and spicy and yeah. So let's get into that. Our dear bear has responded. Prayer for me is always a thank you. I suspect many people use it to ask for outcomes, which I indeed have done. But these days, prayer is a chance to be consciously grateful for that which I am already blessed with. So right on the outset, Bear makes it very clear that there's kind of 2 families here, and there's more, but there's 2 main ones, main buckets that prayer tends to fall in. And you'll find that thread throughout every single thing, every single comment that I'm going to post down below today, as well as what I have to share about it. It's the asking for stuff and the thanking for stuff, like the gratitude for the stuff, and then the like, it's like the lack and the not ownership, the lacking and the having. There we go. It's the lacking and the having. That's the duality that comes through all of these threads. Okay. And I'll speak more on that later, but let's jam through these. Reed says, prayer for me is the belief that there is a higher power working for my best interests and the best interests of those around me. When we pray, we tune into this frequency, and instead of worry and anxiety, we can receive focus and peace. I think that's really ideal. Like, that's kind of when I'm praying, that's what I'm going for, is like to just kind of get this. Let's see, I'm trying to get something though. I'm trying to get to this place where everything feels unified, aligned, energetically on purpose. And not necessarily like, please, I need this thing. It's like I have this opportunity to just exist and surrender, and I want to get to that place. So I am trying to obtain something. I'm trying to obtain that feeling. But at the same time, like it still kind of deals with that duality of like lacking and having, but in a way that I think is like moving towards something that's a little bit more on the enlightened path, right? And here's where it got sticky. I'll probably talk more about this than any other comment today. Roberto says, it's not my business what it means to other people, and vice versa. So my answer is, I have no idea. Now, what he's referring to, let's go back to the question. Does your meaning differ from what you think prayer means to other people? That's what he's referring to when it's like, I have no idea, right? But we got into a bit of a dialogue over this. I'm going to share his full comment, and then I'll kind of sum up my response, basically. And then he says, I just don't have any interest in finding out how other people pray. Why would I? It's a personal decision between me and God, as I imagine it must be for them as well, right? I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, that's kind of the point of the show. And then Roberto says, because what I said to Roberto in response to this was like, well, I learned that one way to pray was the only right way to do it when I was young in a religion. And then I learned from other people that there were other ways to pray, and that was a liberating thing for me. And he says, it would never occur to me that any of us could be doing it wrong or need to know what each other are doing. It's not like I would change my way after finding out how others do it. Would they? For me, it always came naturally. So Rob's response to this is why I think it's important we need to have this conversation. Because if it weren't for knowing how other people were doing it, I don't think I would have ever reclaimed prayer for myself. I don't think I would have ever known that prayer was something that I could do creatively and could be so well integrated with the way that I think about my life and lead my life, make decisions, find myself, connect with others. I would never have found that if I hadn't found out that there were other ways to pray from what had been served to me. And I made that clear to Roberto, and he gets that. I don't mean him, he's not a contrarian. Roberto is somebody who's a deeply thoughtful person. And in fact, I need to also make a point about my own friendship with Roberto. He's the one who taught me that music could be a way of praying. He's a very accomplished musician, and he was a teacher of mine in a capacity that taught me a way to be in connection with the divine, not only hearing music being played or watching music being played, but also expressing myself through music. Roberto is the teacher who taught me that. So we are not talking about somebody who's just arguing with me for the sake of arguing. He really genuinely was like, this comes natural for me. I don't understand why anybody would be labeled as doing it wrong. But I find it very interesting that he went there, that he inferred that there might be some judgment in the question itself, that I might be saying that there's some wrong way to do it, which is not my jam. And I think Roberto knows that. I think he does, but I think he wanted that to come through in this conversation, is that there really is no wrong way to pray. I mean, if it were me, I'm never going to pray for somebody's death or demise, but I can see why somebody would if they really thought that somebody's death or demise would make the world a better place or something. I'm just saying, I'm not really in the dynamic of, not in the business of telling people that they're praying wrong or incorrectly or anything like that. And I think that's why we need to talk about this, because prayer is a creative process. Let's go further.
Well, I just want to interject
Oh,
too,
please
because
do.
it's almost like, do we know how to pray automatically as humans, or is it something that we were taught in the first place, and we learned kind of how other people do it, and then we figured it out for ourselves? I don't know.
Rob mentions that it came naturally for him. I have another friend, Heidi. When we were talking about prayer recently, she said she was not raised in a religion, but she found herself throughout childhood talking to this being that she really later realized in her life was God. And she had come to prayer naturally in her own childhood. So,
Sure.
it's amazing how prayer arrives to us. And I don't know that we necessarily, if we're raised in a religion such as myself, and I believe you as well, we don't really have a way of knowing for sure if like prayer is being something that's like taught to us, or something that prayer is like inherent, right?
Well, and that's funny too, because remember, like, I mean, if maybe many people here have the same experience. Remember when you were a little kid, if you went to church or if you had any kind of like religious community ceremonial type of thing and you're a little kid and everybody starts doing it and you're like,
Hearing
you have no
out.
idea what the hell to, honestly, like, I mean, really, that's how
Yeah,
I was. Maybe it's
yeah.
just me.
And
Anyway.
we have another comment on that too. So here's my dad. Hi, Dad. To such an now there, I always tell people to be brief. I don't think anybody was brief. I had to edit everybody's. Nobody was brief. Not nobody. Maybe Bear. Maybe Bear was brief. Okay. So my dad goes, to such an all-powerful God, my only prayer would be, thy will be done. And praying it once sincerely should suffice for a lifetime. Yeah. I'm right there with you, Dad. And then his two-parter goes on to say, an earnest hope, one deeply felt, can lead to involvement, commitment, and action states that enable a desired end or outcome. This most closely approximates my personal definition of prayer. So he, too, brings in this dynamic of lacking and having. Like, thy will be done is like this having of the acceptance state, the surrender, and then the lacking of like an earnest hope, like something that you want to see in the world. The metta prayer would be a perfect example of that. It is like a lacking prayer, like, may you dwell in the heart. I mean, not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily assume you lack dwelling in the heart, healing.
It's asking for an outcome.
Yeah, it's asking for an outcome. Yeah, it's, again, super trying to be neutral about all of this, like not saying it lacking or having even that duality is like bad and good. It's just is what it is. It's very neutral. Yeah. So that's another part of the dynamic. Carl goes into that dynamic as well. Prayer is an opportunity to trust. Too many people think of it. So there's a bit of judgment there, but that's okay. It's just Carl's way of thinking about it. Too many people think of it as an opportunity to ask for favors, but really, if you believe in any God, then that God already knows everything that you could possibly want or need. Yeah. Maybe. Carl is a two-parter. Prayer is a communion with the divine, where that communion says that we understand that it'll be all right in the end, even if the end is not anything we want as physical organisms. Like, thy will be done, like my dad said. And then Tere says a reflection, like a mirror to our hearts. I love that. Because, yeah, if you're sitting with yourself is something that gets bandied about in these spiritual conversations. I need to sit with myself on this, like I need to sit with my emotions. I think that reflection, like a mirror to our hearts, is kind of another way of putting that. It's so much more poetically. As we speak from that place, I think people see prayer as a need to get down on your hands and knees and confess or ask for what you need at that time. Tade was raised Catholic, and I think a few other people who commented were as well. But that's the religion programming, I believe. And then you alluded to that just now when you were like, when you're a kid, when you're little, and you see everyone around you, like hundreds of people, probably, maybe as few as a dozen and as many as several hundred people, all bowing their heads and all putting their hands together. I mean, we did it this way in my church, like, and being very quiet, and being very still, and being well behaved, and it, we didn't have the kneeling thing for like the kneeling rack or whatever that's called. The kneeling, what is that called? We didn't have that in the church that I went to, but I'll never forget the first time I saw one. And I was at a Catholic church in San Antonio, and I saw the little soft kneeling padded thing, and I was like, what's that for?
Well, that's right. You pop into that mode if you go to some other organization. I mean, we're talking about church. That's the culture that we grew up in, where most religious, it's a Christian church in most cases where we grew up, right? But it could be any spiritual thing, or you go to a house of worship or whatever you want, temple, whatever it is. Their way of doing it, like the actual customs, you're kind of like, am I doing this right? What the hell's going on? Am I, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's kind of the same thing as when you're a little kid, when you go to a different place, when they're doing things differently.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, because there's something I want to close with about that. Hold that thought. Now, Jason's was really super long. I could not possibly have condensed the richness of what he conveyed, and it actually tied into how I'm going to close this, and I wish that I could read the whole thing. But Jason brought his characteristic wisdom into this, his background being raised Buddhist, his own journey into prayer, his experience befriending people within the community of Islam as well, brought him to this wisdom for himself and that he shared with us. Really, just to edit it down to a fine point. And if you want, I mean, it's a public post on my Facebook, so you go to April Kling on Facebook and you find me and you find this place. You can read all of the responses. But it's not a divine hotline or a miracle switch. For me, prayer is the human instinct to steady ourselves, and if we do it right, to help others steady themselves too. So that's Jason's take, right? He doesn't think it's a place where we should be like asking for things or, Santa's list, right? Sitting on Santa's lap is not prayer, right? Now this is also a longer one. I made it into a two-parter, but Paul's experience is also quite unique. He's a former monk, and he lived in monasteries for most of his adulthood and is no longer doing that. He's my neighbor, and he's one of my favorite people to have a conversation with. And he says, it is presence, it is attention, it is the slow sanctification of the ordinary. Oh, nice. It is offering the whole of life, messy, beautiful, unfinished, into the hands of the one who shaped it. Prayer is not something I perform anymore. prayer is not something I perform anymore. Prayer is not something I perform anymore. It is something I'm trying to become, a life offered, a heart listening, a presence held open to the divine presence already here. And it's like my friend Eileen always told me. Um, Eileen's goal in life is to be a living prayer. And Ashley is with us. Reverend Ashley. She says, "Evening, April and Tim. Good to see you both." It's good to see you too, Reverend Ashley. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. And if you have anything you'd like to say about what prayer means to you, we'd love to see it, dear. We would. So let's see here.
Something interesting that came through also in these comments, like you mentioned a sort of dichotomy where it's like asking for or thinking for, or whatever, and then there's this idea of like non-dual awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're either like in dynamic with the divine and you're separate from, or with a non-dual type of awareness, that's the illusion. There's no separation. We are divine. And so then how do you pray?
Mm-hmm.
You have to change your definition of prayer is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
In different contexts. And I think that last comment really kind of highlighted both of these streams in a way.
Yeah, and then Ashley's just brought in her definition too. Reverend Ashley says prayer is creating a moment to fully witness where we are. That's being in the now, non-dual, and that's a great way of putting it. Thank you. So bringing us back to the topic at hand, I will say that I had a pretty interesting experience with prayer and I think I've told the story on Subconscious Sundays before, but I want to just bring it back. Because in interfaith seminary with One Spirit, which is where Reverend Ashley and I were ordained, and many other people, we are brought through each of a handful of world religion and faith paths to kind of spend 6 weeks or ish with each one and really study the texts and really study the traditions and the cultures and the rituals of those cultures, of those religions. And for me, I think the most impactful one for me was Islam. Because when we were doing that unit, and it may have been the same for you, Reverend Ashley, I'm not, say yes or no if you remember it this way. She was in a different class, but we were asked to enter into that practice of praying 5 times a day. We were given quite a lot of leeway as to like when that 5 times would be, but those are pretty dictated 5 times a day at a particular time for Muslims. But for us, it was sort of just like set your alarm for 5 specific times a day that you want to pray. You can line it up with the official stuff, or you can do it your own way, right? So I did it my own way because I had these specific times a day where I had the space to do it, and I set myself an alarm. And let me tell you, the practice of praying 5 times a day for 6 weeks really, really opened my eyes to what prayer could become for me. It did start off as being like a really like Santa, this is what I want for Christmas kind of thing. Like, this is my Christmas list. Like, these are the things I want. These are the things I need to see in my life. These are the things I'd like to be more, like I'd like to be more patient, these things. Like, I would ask. It was demand at the beginning. But something that I started to notice is that like by the end of each prayer, even, I would just naturally gravitate toward the gratitude. It would just eventually end there every time. And I know that that's part of the cadence of the kind of prayer that I was raised with too. But this felt more natural. And I will also say that by the end of that 6 weeks, all that I could find to say was all that I was thankful for. It became like, count your blessings. It became like, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for this. And even things in my life that seemed a bit challenging or somewhat negative or whatever, like Thank you for this opportunity to be more patient. Thank you for this opportunity to be in a better, more conscious dynamic with this thing in my life. It just became that on its own. And I didn't really notice that until we got to the end. And I was like, wait a minute, this looks way different than it did in the beginning. And the Muslim friends that I have, some of whom are very dear to me, as you know, I've been able to have that kind of conversation with those friends. And they're like, yeah, duh. Like, it's some big reveal to me, but to them, it's like, welcome to my world, you know? And yes.
That's so interesting. Like, I think that it is very natural for us. So, and again, like, and I hate to keep, like, there's two sides to, there's not necessarily two sides to everything, but there's two sides to this too, where, and this comes a little bit out of this. I've had a little bit of a personal spiritual crisis in the last couple years. I don't want to call it crisis. I would call it, probably maybe some form of evolution or something, change,
Yeah.
a change of view or whatever.
Yeah.
But if we're going to accept that, we are like, I'm back to this kind of dual and non-dual type of thinking when in terms of the divine. Like, we're either like part and parcel every bit like divine right here, and there is no separation whatsoever, and that's the illusion, non-dual, or God's out there, up there, whatever, separate. That's dual. I'm in a loving relationship or a whatever. So this asking for stuff, or even thinking for, who or what are you thinking? Who or
Right.
what are you asking? I mean, this is where it gets really juicy, right? So what are you thankful? Like, who are you thanking?
Yeah.
And it might sort of naturally kind of like fall in line with this like gratitude, like if the more habitual this practice becomes.
Right.
But then the question for me is like, what am I thinking? Who am I thinking? What's creating any of this for me? Is anything, So it's huge. This,
Yeah. I have a funny analogy for you. It's kind of like doing subconscious some days because we don't always know who's watching. We're broadcasting
true.
this out into the world and we're kind of like, here's what we think. I mean, can we not say that this is a form of prayer? I mean, it kind of is. I mean, if you think about it, it's like this, you and I are just having this conversation, but this conversation could be a form of prayer. Haven't you had, maybe even with me, maybe with other people, certainly with other people. I mean, haven't you had the kind of conversation that you look back on and it was so rich and so deep and reached some part of you that you were like, that conversation was like a prayer to me. Not to sound like
Right.
Madonna or anything, but like, I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Well,
I'm a real wacko. I'm such a free thinker, but I'm gonna go there and say this. God, I hope my parents aren't watching. And if you are, I'm almost 50 years old, guys. Really, there's been instances in my life where I've had sexual encounters that felt like prayer to go there, like Madonna goes there, like like divine union kind of stuff. So I mean, you know who you are if you're watching, but
well, it's true. I mean, and what else are we supposed to do with this? And herein is another thing. All of this supposed to do. There's a lot of supposed to do when it comes to prayer, right?
to not do, which
Yeah.
obviously provoked. There's so much of that in the atmosphere. It provoked Roberto to react the way he did. Like, there's no need to tell anybody that they're doing it wrong. And I'm like, why
Right.
would I do that? Oh, because he's seen that done. He's seen that done. He's seen it
It
done.
happens all the time, all over the place, on this very Sunday in thousands of venues.
All weekend long, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
So Ashley reflects on the experience of like setting alarm and stuff like that. It was funny how that little alarm went off. Yeah, she's talking about like how when we would go into the, I think she's talking about when we would go into the Islamic unit and we would learn about praying 5 times a day, but that she also mentioned in the previous comment that was on the screen that she has an alarm that goes off that reminds her to dive in. It's funny how that little alarm went off and I was able to reflect on what was happening. It can be a different type of prayer for me, a dual stream of energy accompanying me in my whole day. I also wanted to say, oh, she's got another comment here. Yes to this, your creative process in art is playful and prayerful. Oh, yes. Art is prayer. Art is prayer. Art is prayer. Creativity is prayer. And I want to also say that my mom made a comment. I didn't get it into the list of comments that I wanted to put on the screen today, but I wanted to share what Lectio Divina is, because my mother encountered Lectio Divina in her own reading. She's a real big fan of Richard Rohr and several other authors. And we share that in common, like this really big, we're both big fans of prayer. And my mother was saying that Lectio Divina found her that practice. Now, have you heard of that, Tim? Lectio Divina?
I have, and I'm really scanning my brain for. I'm looking forward to your explanation.
It was brought. The idea of Lectio Divina was brought to me through One Spirit as well, but that it was one of those weird things where just as I was learning about it, I encountered it in the wild, and it was actually Andrew Harvey who opened up this invitation to do a 40-day and 40-night Lectio Divina journey for Lent. And we were doing the Christianity unit in One Spirit at that point. And I was like, okay, yeah, we were having to come up with a Lenten practice. So once again, I was finding myself at like prescribed times of day, dawn and dusk, to engage with the act of prayer. And Lectio Divina is reflecting on a passage. So the way that Lectio Divina is typically done is through scripture. How Andrew Harvey did Lectio Divina is, I love this guy. I mean, everybody knows I love Andrew Harvey. Andrew Harvey knows I love Andrew Harvey. And I think he loves me too. But the way that he brought this forward is he took poetry, he took scriptures from all sorts of different cultures and religions, and made them all, like it was a smattering of like 80 different prayers from all of these different sources all around the world, all with huge amounts of depth. And so the idea is that you reflect on this passage and you read it to yourself in your head, and then you read it aloud with your voice. And then you spend a prescribed amount of time, like 15 10 15 minutes, like kind of letting it ruminate, like letting it gel in your mind, like what you gain from that passage, like what it is delivering to you, the wisdom that it's bringing to you in your life. So that's Lectio Divina. And let me tell you, that was after the Islam unit for me in seminary. And I mean, One Spirit is a process that breaks you open. So I was once again broken open, right? It was this revelatory moment. And what was really cool about that is that Nicola, my teacher who passed away earlier this year, she was the head tutor at One Spirit. She and I were doing that together. And that was really special, really super special. So that is yet another way to pray. Ashley says, it is the time of Celtic Advent now. Lectio is a beautiful part of this. Yes, it is. So we're in Samhain. We're coming up on Yule here in less than a month. And if you aren't following Reverend Ashley Oliver, please do so. By the way, she's going to bring you into the Celtic traditions, and as also an interfaith minister, into ways that brings like these ancient wisdoms of the indigenous cultures around these parts. Ashley, you live in England, is that right? Or do you live in Scotland? I can't remember which, but she is the one who can bring you the wisdom of the Wheel of 8 and tie that beautifully into your own faith practices and your own rituals. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say on it. I've gone like, whoa, 40 minutes. Wow. Sorry. Tim, I know you have something beautiful to deliver us today. I hope I didn't take up too much time.
No, it's really awesome to hear from all these folks and bringing all these valuable perspectives into this conversation about what this thing called prayer even is. So if you're just joining us for the first time, we do a hypnotic meditation on the last part of this show, and so this with the topic of prayer, I just want to head this off at the pass. What I've prepared for you is completely non-religious, and it's really only as spiritual as you would like to make it. This what I'd like for us to do is pretty simple today. So if you'd like to join me for this hypnotic meditation, I'm just going to help us create a state so that whatever your beliefs are, whatever your religious or spiritual beliefs are, I'm going to help us enter into a state that is most conducive to communion with the divine if you have those beliefs. You don't even need to have those beliefs to participate. But if you would like to participate in this hypnotic meditation, just find a comfortable position. No, don't fuss. Lay down, sit up, whatever you'd like to do. Probably one stipulation that will help you is to keep your spine straight and to not cross your legs or your arms. Just find a comfortable position, seated or lying down, and just begin to settle in. And if you joined us last week, I'm going to kick us off with the same process to help us enter into this different state of awareness. It's called the alpha sequence. And last week's episode, I went over these steps with us, and that's how we'll start it off today. So as you're settling in, just start off by bringing your attention to the surface beneath you and just let it hold you there. And find a spot on the wall that's above your natural eye gaze. Your eyes are upturned, and once you find that spot, take a deep breath in and really focus in on that spot. Really eagle eye every little detail. And as you take a breath out, look through the spot as if you could look through the wall of the ceiling and notice the corners of the room, activating your peripheral vision. And when you're ready, close your eyes. Good. Now relax your jaw. And as you do, just really relax it. As you relax your jaw, it sends a signal to every muscle, nerve, and cell in your body that now is the time to relax. And there is nothing you need to do right now except listen to the sound of my voice and continuously relax as we continue. So I'd like you to get into a slow, comfortable rhythm of breathing now. Slow down your rate of breathing with a really long exhalation. Just make your exhalation a little longer than your inhalation. Nothing forced here, just a slower, natural rhythm of breathing. Good. And breathe all the air out of your lungs. Now, relax the back of your tongue. See how relaxed you can get this part of your body. And as you do, it helps to decouple your tongue from the part of your mind that's always preparing to speak, so that you can have new thoughts, an open mind, open to whatever might emerge from the deeper levels of your consciousness. Good. Once again, take your attention to the surface beneath you. Bring your attention and your focus to the feeling of gravity itself, holding you gently to the earth. And you might even begin to sense the quiet presence of the whole earth beneath you. And let that awareness allow you to settle in even more comfortably and relax just a touch further. Good. Now, with your next in-breath, I'd like you to follow that feeling of gravity and allow your awareness to go down into the earth, all the way down, down, down to the center of the earth. With the power of your imagination, allow your awareness to go all the way down to the center of the earth, through all the layers of the earth. And on your next breath in, bring your awareness back up into your body and allow your awareness to go up, 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 all the way up and out to the very center of the universe. And in this moment, with the power of your imagination, connecting to the very center of the universe, you are connected to everything else in the universe. Let your awareness fall on the center of the universe and therefore everything, the totality of existence. And bring your awareness now back down into your body and let this grounded energy of the earth and this energy of the center of the universe, we might call it divine, we might call it the energy of inspiration. Let those two energies commingle in this balance point in your heart. And now drop your awareness into your heart. You might think of the seat of your awareness in your head. Use now the power of your imagination to drop your full awareness into the seat of your heart, where the energy of the earth and the energy of heaven combine and balance. Good. Now imagine a warm golden light surrounding your body, filling you with a really deep sense of peace and tranquility. And it's almost weightless. It's a very spacious. Bring your attention to this feeling of spaciousness all around you. And as you focus on this sense of spaciousness, it's almost as if you can't tell where your body ends and the rest of the world begins. And you get so still, and just still enough to really start to feel the flow of life all around you. Warm. And just drop back into that flow now. Just let go into that flow. Feel it. Good. Now from here, just notice your whole body all at once. We're not focusing on any particular part. Allow your awareness to soften and expand to encompass your whole body all at once. And notice that your field of awareness goes even further. Everything that you can hear right now, my voice, any sounds in the room, any sounds outside of where you are, notice just how broad your field of awareness is. With everything you can hear right now. Now, I'd like you to bring your attention to your feet, both at once. Allow your awareness to go right to your feet, and both of them equally at once. Now slowly bring more of your awareness into your ankles and your calves, both at once, and then your knees and your thighs, gently spreading your awareness with the power of your focus, including your feet, knees, and thighs, both at once, in your field of awareness. Good. And allow it to encompass your hips and your abdomen and your chest and your shoulders. And as you do, as you bring your awareness to your shoulders, it allows them to relax even further, just drop your shoulders and allow your awareness now to naturally flow down into both arms, both at once, both elbows, both forearms, both wrists, both hands. And at this moment in time, just take a moment to notice how alive you feel. That sense of life and living, maybe you call it life force, but feel that now. Every one of your cells is alive right now. Bring your awareness back to your shoulders, into your neck now, up into your head, and let your awareness encompass the whole head. And now, once again, feel your whole body again. Let your awareness expand to encompass your whole body all at once, and the whole field of your awareness. Everything that you're aware of right now. And you can feel how alive every cell in your body is right now. Let your jaw soften again. Just allow a gentle awareness of all of your body and everything that you're aware of all at once. And in this state, when your body is quiet, when your mind is calm and serene, when your heart is open, you are indeed connected to everything else in the universe. And if you have these beliefs, you're even more openly connected to the divine in this state. So, if you had a chance to communicate one thing to a higher power in this state, what is that right now? Go ahead and do that. Now allow your awareness once again to soften and encompass your whole body and your whole field of awareness. And just sit in a moment, just a few seconds of silence, open to whatever might come up in your awareness. And once again, bring your attention to that sense of spaciousness all around you, encompassing your whole body. And now narrowing your focus in once again on the feeling of the surface beneath you. Focusing your awareness now on the surface beneath you. And in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and we'll emerge from this hypnotic meditation feeling amazing, feeling connected, light, and maybe even a little more free. 1, focusing on that feeling of gravity, letting your awareness be drawn once again down to the very center of the earth, grounded and supported. 2, bringing your awareness back up into your heart. Allow your awareness to focus in at the center point of your being, the very center of your being, in the center of your chest, in the center of your heart. And wiggling your fingers and toes. 3, opening your eyes, coming right back here with us on Subconscious Sundays. And thanks for joining me for this hypnotic meditation.
Now that, my friends, is prayer.
Well, my intention for this, and I think you all probably get this, is to facilitate whatever you believe prayer to be, and to potentiate that.
Exactly. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks. I hope you enjoyed it.
what occurred to me in that meditation that I feel the need now to bring forward before we close is that prayer at its best is embodied, that it's experienced by the body and with the body. And as I'm always coaching and I'm always teaching, we're different from our bodies. Our bodies are not us. They're just a vehicle of who we really are. And prayer at its best is that collaboration with the body. And by that definition, dance can be a form of prayer too.
That's right. And building on that, my kind of beliefs have landed on that it's the whole of our experience. And I differ a little bit there. I think that we are. I used to think that, spirit is different from our body, and I'm really trying to experience the whole of this experience and not shut out or create separations between body or heart or mind or soul or spirit.
It's all working
And
together.
that kind of state helps you experience that, I think. Hypnosis
Mm-hmm.
helps you experience that kind of state. So,
Unified, right? It's not really separate so much as it's
yeah,
like component.
integrated, deeply integrated
Yeah.
through our nervous system and every other system in our body. It's our mind and our heart and our body all open to, what we might call divine. And I guess to me, that's prayer.
Yeah. Yeah. Ashley says, thank you, Tim. And thank you, Ashley, for being with us. And then Tere says, love y'all. Gracias. Thank you. Gracias, mi amiga. Also to you. Well, thank you all for being with us today. Thank you, Tim, for the glorious way of showing how prayer can be how hypnosis can be prayer, and how prayer could be such a creative process, just as Ashley put into just as fine a point. And there's so much about what in my own work one-on-one with groups and in my ministry as a whole about reclaiming spirituality for yourself, and prayer is part of that, as well as reclaiming creativity for yourself, which to me, I don't differentiate between the two. Creativity is spirituality, is the name of the game, right? So there is this obvious invitation to go into this work with someone like me or Tim, whichever resonates. We always put the links to work with us in the description of all of the broadcasts that we do. So you can find a way to work with Tim or work with me. If you want to work with both of us, you can just pick one of us and we'll come up with some sort of plan where that process can be unified. And I also wanted to just say also again for the second time in a row that Tim and I are working on teasing out something really special for all of you. And we're not ready to talk about it out loud just quite yet, but we really want to do something more than just Subconscious Sundays for you all. And we've been saying that since the beginning. So we're finally ready to start talking about how that might look and how that might go. We're also going to go into an exploratory phase with the people that we work with and see what, comes out of those conversations too. But just so you know, there's more to come and we will have a great announcement soon. But if you want to work with us and have a discussion with us about that, even the things that we won't talk about on the show, just go ahead and choose the link down below and set up a time to talk free of charge, either one of us. Let's see.
I'm going to jump in here and say too, like, given this topic today, clearly April is the authority. You might argue with that. I think you're the authority in this subject arena. Like, if you've got a spiritual any spiritual issues, like April's kind of your person. Hypnosis can help with this too, and we can certainly all work together or whatever. But hypnosis can definitely help deepen your spiritual life and help you explore certain. But it's April's work that really touches on this nerve here.
Yeah, thanks. And I really think that it's important to work with Tim on hypnosis for this sort of stuff too, because it helps you kind of unpack all the ways that things are beliefs and practices, rituals, and the way that religion and even scripture has been impacted your life in ways you don't realize. And maybe that you can come up with your own new practices that actually don't even necessarily have to go against what you believe in terms of religion and spirituality and culture.
Yeah.
Like
And
there's
just
ways that you
thinking,
can get this to work for you and work for the life that you've built from the beginning.
that's right. And and I'm just thinking like all the people who I've helped with religious trauma too, like
Same. Yeah. I
it's a
mean,
thing, and we can both help you with that too. And when you become free of that, you, like April said, you can reclaim your spirituality in a lot of ways. So
yeah. Well, thanks very much once again for joining us. And we'll be back next week, right, Tim?
yep.
Yeah. And then I think we're going to be off for Thanksgiving weekend. But next week, we'll be back with a new episode to be determined on the subject. I don't think we've decided on one yet. I'm probably going to do that right now, actually. And then thanks to all of you for your beautiful, beautiful responses to this week's question, most of all. And we'll see you next week.